BobbleOn, Matt and Zack here. It's a little weird, coming to you running a podcast in the middle of this coronavirus global pandemic. And we talked a lot about, is this the right time? Should we do this? Should we not do this? And we both wholeheartedly agreed that it's the right thing to do to communicate with you all and still stick to our week-to-week program, make sure that we deliver value to you. So you know that we're here, you know that we're putting in the work for you guys. And first off, just want to extend our well wishes to all of you and your families. And I hope that everyone's safe, that everyone is smart, if everyone is heeding the warnings, and obviously trying to keep a level and cool head about the whole thing. Being with family is obviously a really nice side benefit. Know that we're here for you if you need to connect for anything. You want to text, you want to email, you want to call, you want to just have a quick chat. Zack and I are here, and we are happy, whether you're a client or not, we are happy to talk to you about anything at any time and be a support for you both personally and professionally.
Just to chime in, I relatively enjoy physically distancing myself from you. I think it's been a nice little trend. But I think I kind of like this podcast setup is quite nice. But it is, you're right. It is challenging to record a podcast. And we talked about, you and I, like, what do we talk about today? Because we really don't want to just grab the mics and be like, now is the time to focus on how you deliver value in the sales process. It just comes off weak. That's not what we want to talk about. We need to think about what people are going through. Some people are fine. Some people are thriving. And other people are experiencing serious pain. Pain that they didn't expect. They had 2020 listed as the year for them, and it will not be the year for them. And so we need to really frame it around. And so what we're going to be delivering to you today is 4 strategies that you need to implement now, or at least refine right now. And 2 are delivered from Maddie and myself. One's delivered from Grant Botma out of Stewardship in Arizona, and the other is delivered from Ryan Hanley of Rogue Risk in New York. We got together and said, what do insurance agents need to hear right now? What do they need to implement? Why is it important to them? And we think this is one of those podcasts that you're going to listen to 2 times, despite its length. And you're going to say, okay, get the notepads out, get the pen and paper out. Let's start acting.
The other good thing about this pod is that these 4 topics, one from each of us, are completely different. So hopefully everyone really enjoys it. We really enjoyed recording it and filming it.
Rock on, take out the notepads, get your pen. It's time to implement.
So hey guys, we talked last week a little bit about the main macro purpose of us getting together and chatting is to create value for those listening. If we're not creating value, then we're just getting on a call and having a discussion. And at this particular time, it's super interesting because we just chatted a little bit offline, like how stressed and kind of anxious a lot of the country is, including a lot of small business owners, a lot of our friends and colleagues. And we talked a little bit about what we can chat about this week that'll create immediate value for our listeners and people out there who's just looking for some direction, looking for some guidance, looking for some ideas that they can run with at a time of uncertainty. So if we can accomplish some certainty at the end of this call and just give some nuggets of value that people can walk away with, I think we'll all know that we created some wins for people and we'll feel good about it. I don't know if someone wants to kind of tee up sort of what the topic is today, and then we can dive right into it.
I thought you just did, but
yeah.
Grant, go ahead.
Go ahead, Grant.
Okay, cool. So yeah, in today's kind of meeting and podcast, we're going to talk about the turbulent times that we're in and what we can do as business owners and insurance agency owners, insurance agents, people that are in this field. What are things that we can do, not just to make the most of it, but to kind of navigate through it, figure it out. And I think each of the guys here has something that they've thought through and are wanting to present. And all of our perspectives are going to be a little bit different. And we'll discuss on each one of the topics that each person wants to bring up. But the hope is by the time you're done listening to this, you'll be able to grab at least one thing that you're going to be able to apply to what's going on to your business during this kind of weird time. So I'm excited to jump into it.
Love it. Love it. I think, yeah, when we were talking before about these strategies to help businesses, it's really going to be effective for the insurance agents across the country. And it's also going to be effective for them to talk to people like small businesses that are peripheral in their world about something that's not the coronavirus, about something that's not the stock market dipping and recovering and dipping and recovering, or Twitter or politics or this, that, and the other. You need stuff to talk about beyond the fact and beyond the panic and beyond the fear. And I think that's what this topic in specific is really exciting for me personally. Just gives us more ammo.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right. So each of us have a topic that we want to go through. I'll start at the risk of sounding like that guy. I was in financial services and in mortgages right before and around 9/11. And then I started my company just before the recession in 2008. And this kind of feels eerily similar to it. It really does. And even some of the stuff the government is doing to try to help recover the economy, it's doing well. And they're doing basically the same things they did those last two times. And a mentor of mine once told me, he said, Grant, there is opportunity in every market. And my response to that was like, all right, great. Thanks for telling me. And he's like, no, Grant. And he grabbed me by the shoulders, looked me in the eye, and he said, there is opportunity in every market. And I'm like, okay, and he has been able to thrive as a business owner when other businesses aren't. And he's able to find opportunities when other businesses aren't. And thanks to him, I was able to find opportunities through the rough times that businesses in the financial service world was having around 9/11 and in 2008. And I made a lot of money. And I'm not saying that as a bragging point. I'm saying that because if you find opportunity and you serve people really well, money sometimes is a measure for how well you're serving people in these tough times. And I believe now there's a time that people need to be served in an unbelievable way. And guess what? If you serve them well, there's a chance that you'll use that opportunity, take that opportunity to make money. And I think all businesses, especially even in the insurance world, financial services world, there's an opportunity for us. So one thing that I'm doing, and something that I did even in those other two times, was make sure that my finances are flexible. Because if my finances for my business and my personal life aren't flexible, I can't take advantage of opportunities, even if one's right in front of my face. Do you guys know what I'm saying? I mean, have you ever been given like an investment opportunity or seen an investment opportunity? You're like, oh crap, I'd love to do that, but I can't because I'm not ready for that. Has that happened to either of you guys?
Yep.
Yes.
I mean, it's frustrating
Absolutely.
too. Like it'll come your way and you're like, oh man, I really want to do that. But then you can't because you're not set up financially. And we talk about, and we know with our own personal lives, we should have, around 3 to 6 months worth of savings just set aside personally. And that helps to, with our personal lives, make ourselves a little bit flexible and not make times like this feel stressful. But are we doing that with our business? Do we have a financial plan with our business? And I think everybody, especially now in this downtime, should really be looking over their monthly financial plan for their business. What costs are absolutely necessary and what costs can be removed if things get rough? What costs can you say no to if you have a bad few months or if the economy moves in a certain way? Or what costs are you willing to say no to make sure that you can have a little bit more flexibility? And I think that's important. Step one, I think, is just figuring out what all of your costs are, which ones are absolutely necessary, and which ones are flexible. But the other part of having a financial plan with your business is making sure that some of the first portions of income that you get for your business, you're setting aside in a business reserve account. A business savings account, something that money is just sitting there, because when things go poorly, or if we're going a turbulent time, you have confidence, but more importantly, you can take advantage of those opportunities. We talk about 3 to 6 months savings with personal, but I don't know if every business is doing this, where you have at least a 6-month reserve for your own expenses to give some flexibility. I mean, Hanley, I see you shaking your head. You just started your business. I mean, what's your thoughts and feedback as I'm talking out loud with this stuff?
Yeah, I have two thoughts. The first one is actually all the restaurant owners. I mean, when you talk about this, look at almost every restaurant. And this is not a knock on restaurant owners. It's a tough business. It's a cash heavy business. But we had restaurant owners in our area 1 week into this shutdown are crying on Facebook because they know they can't, their business is toast. You know what I mean? They're begging people almost for donations to keep their restaurant open, which is an odd idea. But that part just says, I don't think most businesses are doing this. I think the insurance industry has the luxury of renewals and is so insulated from a lot of these thoughts that we don't, in many regards, don't have to prepare. That doesn't mean that they shouldn't, but they've never been forced to prepare. And for my own business, I've had certain. I had a plan, I had reserves, and then I had side income coming in that was the financing for this enterprise. And what I found is not only has the primary mechanism of prospecting that I was engaged in dried up, but the side income has dried up as well. So, that's forced me to reevaluate how I'm attacking the market. And obviously you have to place your bets and push forward. But I definitely think that in general, people who aren't as financially educated as you are, I don't know, and I would put myself in that classification. While incredibly educated and personal, I think that for some reason, I don't apply that as much in the business world.
That's it's a good point, Ryan. I think, Matt and I specifically have had a financial advisor for GNN only.
Wise.
And it worked out. It really did work out long term. I know Matt and Matt, you remember in 2010 when we first opened, we had a financial advisor, and I remember we both looked at her like, why are we paying this guy $2,500? Like, what are we doing? And it turned out to be an excellent idea, and it really worked out. But we've always had a financial advisor in the business. But Ryan, going to your point about restaurants, just giving you a nugget. One of our restaurant clients, I reached out to, I just called and I said, hey, how are you guys doing? Like, I'm just curious, do you want me to spread the word about gift cards? Should they be purchased? Like, how can we help at GNN? Or how can we help you get through this tough time? And he said, Zack, actually, we've always had a food truck at the restaurant, and we've constantly gone to local pubs and establishments. So we're actually doing fine with the food truck, and we're kind of surviving around it. So going to your point, Grant, that restaurant's only been open for 8 to 9 months. And they didn't originally open the food truck as setting 6 months aside, but they kind of opened the food truck as a little bit of a business interruption policy. And it's actually kind of working out. For them.
This is the thing, Zach, that I have taken from this is I think an idea that will be firmly implanted in our business minds for the first, and I think in our personal lives as well for the foreseeable future. And it's most likely a silver lining to this is the idea of diversification.
Yep.
And just diversification in your business, diversification and maybe add flexibility. Many agencies, if you look at the IAOA board, right? They're asking really tough questions about going remote and how, we just had in New York State, Governor Cuomo just came out and said, you can only have 25% of your workforce in your building. That's it. 25%. You can't have more than 25% of your people in your building anymore. Now, how they're going to enforce that, who the heck knows? But just that mandate alone forces you to push people who've never worked remote before, in many cases, out into their homes or out wherever. They can't go to coffee shops, right? They have to go to their home. And, we weren't prepared for this as an industry. And, I think hopefully a silver lining for this is we start to think about our businesses in more of a, what if this did happen? Could we, business continuity standpoint.
Yeah, and I think it's
I
more
like,
than just. Oh, go ahead, Matt.
No, I was just going to actually, I wanted to come back to your concept of a savings sort of bucket or account. I love the fact that you recommend that people put their first dollars towards that, opposed to try to find dollars to put towards it after all the expenses are paid, because you'll never find anything. And that's on the personal and on the.
It needs to be an expense line item on your expenses, right? It can't be something, well, if there's leftover, we'll save. It's like, no, on your list of expenses, you've got to have saving, right?
Yeah, and that's I think a lot of us have heard that personally. A lot of people haven't heard that from a business perspective, and I think it's definitely really smart. But I like too the application of those funds can be nimble and flexible. We're at this particular moment, we're focused on, well, if you need a reserve to cover expenses for 2 or 3 or 4 months, or payroll or vendor or whatever, whether you're an insurance agent or anyone else for that matter, it's really necessary to have it. But then there's also like a lot of opportunistic times when I wish that we had extra cash, whether it be, the agency down the street's looking to sell and you just need to come up with some cash for a down payment, or you're looking to buy the building that you're in because your lease is up and the landlord wants to get out, or you see a good opportunity to buy a building nearby, or even you want to open a profit sharing plan or a cash balance plan for the company and you need some additional funds to start it off. Like, there's so many times and opportunities as a business owner to capitalize. If you don't have the cash, it's really hard to do so. Not just when stocks are low or when companies are at risk and they're selling for a fraction of a dollar. Those are obvious opportunities. But I just think that recommendation is so solid.
Yeah, it's about that flexibility. Sure, we want to save for downtimes, right? We want to save for emergencies or when things happen. That's wise. But I mean, all of you guys just mentioned amazing things and opportunities. Gina, and you guys just did mergers and acquisitions, right? Whether you're going to go buy other books, you need to have that money there, or you're going to do partnerships or things with other books, it increases the value of your business. So it's super wise to have that, right? You talk about diversification, Ryan. Like, how are you supposed to go buy the food truck? How are you supposed to go to your partner who's a financial advisor who maybe needs some help and say, hey, look, you want to partner together financially? Why don't I float you for a couple of months because I've got money. Here's this opportunity. Now let's add financial planning to your insurance book, right? Or mortgages or whatever the other thing is. You can't do it unless you have that savings account. And as Eric, man, one of the wisest dudes I know, that mentor, he said there's an opportunity in every market. And if you're doing this one simple practice, having a financial plan for your business, all the expenses, what can you remove, what can you not remove, and make sure one of the top line items on that expense list is savings. You'll not only be ready for turbulent times, but you'll be ready to take advantage of those opportunities. And there's opportunities aplenty in times like this.
Love it. Love it. Have you done any, I don't know if you follow Brian Buffini.
Totally, yes.
He does the 70-10-10-10 model. It's not necessarily his, but it's shared around with a lot of those people. I think even Ramsey has a little bit of a version of it. It might even be his. But I love that model in business. I think it's a really simple one, and we can break that down another time. But to your point, one of the 10s is that fund you're talking about. So if you're making $10 in a month, $1 has to go to X, and that could be that fund. $1 goes to you, $7 goes to your expenses. Who cares how you do it? But the 10-10-10 is, we followed that, Matt and I, in 2017, 2018, and it got us through a really good time.
That's awesome. And here's a simple goal that if you're listening to this and you don't have 3 months of your expenses set aside for savings, create a goal to make that happen before the end of the year. Look at your income, look at your expenses, and say, okay, what do I need to do with my expenses and or my income opportunities to make sure by the end of the year I can have 3 months. And if you have 3 months now, but you don't have 6 months, set a goal for 6 months by the end of the year. Because if you can have 6 months worth of your expenses for your business set aside, gosh, it gives you peace. And if it doesn't allow you to diversify and take advantage of opportunities.
Well said. Well said. Ryan, what do you got for the people? What's on your mind?
I think that now mine is maybe a little more marketing related, surface stuff to a certain extent. But one of the things that the drum that I've been banging for basically a decade is that you have to tell your story in the digital space, right? Like this is the time when having a backlog of content, it gets you found. It helps people understand who you are, what you're trying to do, and just having that muscle exercised where you can pop open a camera and share a story, or go down to your favorite restaurant and talk about the fact that they're selling gift cards or they're doing takeout now, and being able to create content at will is not like a nice to have skill. It's something that is absolutely necessary. And the people that are doing it, I'm watching Bradley Flowers down in Alabama, just absolutely continue to push building his 1-year-old agency, continue to build that business. And he's doing it through telling stories with his clients, telling stories about his viewpoint on the world, about his advice, his guidance, his struggles, his successes. And he's just willing to pop open his camera and tell his story at any time. And what it does is it enamors people to you. It allows people to self-select in. And that's always been the part of particularly content marketing. I'm not talking about advertising, but content marketing I've always felt is so powerful, is that you're essentially creating filters for the type of people that you want. And, if you're stuck at home, if the phone's not ringing as much right now, instead of getting despondent, instead of feeling release some of that anxiety and starting to fill up your backlog of content. Talk about what you do, who you work with, why you work with them, what value you add. There's a million ways to dice and slice it. But I think now more than ever, this is a superpower for people.
Yes.
I have a follow-up question, Ryan, on that, because I think there's a lot of people that are not probably nodding their heads listening to you talk about that. Some who have already started and have been on their journey of content marketing, and others who know they should and have plans to do so. But everyone probably at this moment is thinking to themselves, should I pause? Should I shift? What should I be talking about at these moments? Because I want to be sensitive to everyone's kind of anxiety levels. I don't want to be coming off too business folk, too pitchy, too salesy. But at the same time, I feel like I need to be creating content, especially at a time when I feel like I have more bandwidth and time to actually put the camera on and start talking. Do you have a recommendation, or do you have like sort of a thought around, what type of content would be effective right now for insurance agents or business owners to be doing at times of uncertainty and disruption?
Yeah, I mean, so I'll just tell people what I've been doing is I have a few particular classes of business that I'm going after, and I'm just talking through each component of it. Like 2 days ago, I released a video on how to create a return to work program. Like that is a very nuanced, very kind of in the weeds idea for second level workers comp. It's kind of second level even in the workers comp world. And that's the breadth of I want customers to know the depth at which I can go with them and the level of consultative help that I'm willing to give. Now, if 15 people watch that video over the course of the next year, that's a victory. You know what matters? People see that you did the work. Like someone just sees the title and they go, okay, I can have a conversation with this guy. He's on my playing field. No human being other than me may ever watch that entire video. That's completely fine. It's 9 minutes of return to work program. That watching the whole video isn't the point. The point is I have now fully expressed the fact that if someone has a question about return to work programs, I am a human being who can help answer those questions for them. And that's what we're trying to establish. So pick a thing, right? If you're a home, I get a lot of this. Well, I just write home and autos. So what can I can't just talk about that all the time. Sure you can. I did a video this morning about Hanover has a really cool coverage extension for service line coverage, right? Service lines are normally not covered under a standard homeowners insurance policy because they're outside your building. Well, you can get a coverage extension that covers all those service lines all the way out to the road. I've had that loss happen to me twice. I've had to pay over $30,000 for 2 separate service lines, geysers coming out of my front yard. So I can speak directly to the topic. It's a very minute coverage extension. But for someone who's had that happen to them, you just knocked it out of the park for them. You now have given them a solution to this thing that happened in their life. Just do that for every coverage extension that exists for your top 3 favorite carriers. You'll be creating content for the next 6 months.
And the thing is, it's more importantly than what you just said about all these. It's the consistency that's going to win. Like, not everybody's going to watch the video, read the blog, do the thing, but they're going to see that, oh, Ryan keeps telling me about insurance. He's an expert, and I can trust that because he keeps sending info out. I can't tell you how many people come into our office and my advisors say, hey, how did you hear about Grant? I just follow him on Instagram. And that was it. And I just show up every day. I mean, just the fact that you're showing up, like you said, it's not some people create content, some people don't. I strongly believe what you said. Like, this is an absolute necessity. We've got guys like Joe Clevenger in Indiana. He did a Facebook Live video. This guy is one of the most kind-hearted, amazing men you'll meet in our industry. He is unbelievably caring, and that's all he did in the video. He decided to care. He's not super he's not Tony Robbins, he's not getting up on a stage and motivating people and rah, rah, rah. He's not like this unbelievably well put together a professional speaker, and you don't have to be. All you have to do is care about people. Because in this Facebook Live video that Joe did from his car, he just hit record. He just cared for people. He bought some coffee. He's going to deliver the coffee to some first responders, people that can't take work off. He bought coffee from these local restaurants. And because he cared, the video got shared over 21 times. I'm looking at the stats right now. Over 117 engagements, almost 160 engagements now. And the views are almost to 2,000 times people have watched this video.
Yeah.
And it's doing 2 things. One, it's inspiring people to care like him. Can we all agree that social media in our society needs a little more of that today?
Yeah.
I mean, kudos to Joe for leading in that way. But 2, to your point, Ryan, because he did what you said, where you're just showing up, man. You're just hitting that record button. People are going to remember his name, his brand, and his agency as a result of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a beautiful thing that he did.
So back in 2012, when I did the 100 videos in 100 days thing, 90% of the business that I got was not because anyone was blown away by my 5 megapixel non-HD handheld video quality. It was 100% because I did the work. That was what it was. They were just like, oh, you're willing to create that many videos and share them for free? Like that's why people called. That was 100% why people called. So I think, so what I would caution people to do is listen to the story about Joe and go, oh, I need to do a caring video from my car where I deliver coffees to first responders. That is the wrong way to frame this idea. It's who are you? Who are you? What are you into? And just because you don't do a caring video doesn't mean that you don't care. It doesn't mean you're bad. What is the thing that you're into? If you're into pets and you like to go to the Humane Society, do that. If you like kids and you're just going to go drop some toys off at people's houses who are going stir crazy or some new game, you're going to go buy some games and drop them off at people's houses so kids can play different games. Whatever you want to do, it doesn't matter. Just whatever that thing is. And it's not being braggadocious. It's not being, it's not like people will say, well, I'm not that kind of person. I don't like that kind of attention. Well, here's the thing. If you're going to be a leader of your business and therefore a leader of your community, you have to take it upon your shoulders to show people that this is what's out there, that this is what we need more of. And I don't think I don't like to be on camera is a good enough excuse to not be the leader that you would believe yourself to be. And I don't want that to come off as too harsh, but it's the way that I feel is that I don't like doing half the shit that I do. I just do it, right? Like I don't want to spend 3/4 of my day in front of a video screen talking into a camera and then editing till 11 o'clock at night. That sucks. I'm exhausted. But I do it because I don't know what else to do. Like, this is what we have to do. So I guess that's a good point.
I think Joe and Gina are the types of people who, at times of sort of stress and tension and chaos, they definitely rise. And there's fewer people like that than I wish there existed, but they're definitely two that just rise at times of chaos and kind of take a big leadership role. I'm really glad you brought that up, Grant, and we chatted with them this morning, and they're just really special people. Their team is rallying behind them, their community is rallying behind them, because these are the times when they actually they really step up. So thanks for sharing that. I'll go next if Ryan, you're good. So just as a reminder, these are 4 different things, guys, that you can implement in your business right now, the next 3 weeks, the next 6 weeks, the next 8 weeks, that hopefully you'll never stop, but really taking advantage of this time that we're kind of thrown off our game to double down on stuff that's going to really help. And I'm going to take a slightly different angle from the 2 other really good points, and it's get a little bit more granular in process. And this is going to apply to insurance agents, but it could just as well apply to dentists and lawyers and contractors, or anyone who has clients of any kind. Doesn't need to be a renewal business for this to apply, residual business for this to apply. But I know from just speaking to hundreds and hundreds of agents over the years, the one thing that really is missing or lacking is a really sound, well-built, well-oiled renewal process that's being executed consistently. What do I mean by that? I mean, your clients, whether you have 5 or you have 50,000, are coming up for renewal. And whether it's an automatic renewal like auto and home insurance renews, or whether you're a dentist out there and you just want to reach out to clients every year of their anniversary with you, it's the same thing. And this is a good time. I was chatting with someone the other day, an insurance agent the other day. Actually, it was Crowley. And Mike Crowley was saying that he's using this time, his entire team is going to dive into the data. One of their kick the can down the road issues, just like a lot of us have to deal with, is data integrity, the quality of our data so we can make good decisions. And he's using this time with his team to really clean up data. And it's in the same vein, your renewal process is a time right now to dive deep and invest in how you handle your renewal process. A few things to kind of just consider is first, are we pulling reports on who is renewing? First off, are we even doing that? If we're not, we got to start doing that. But there's a few steps that you guys listening can take. One is develop the reports, determine when you need to pull them and how you're going to categorize them. If you're just pulling, a report of every single person renewing, fine. But if you want to get a little bit more categorical and you want to create different categories of opportunities, pulling reports 45 days before your clients renew and categorizing them into different campaigns. One, monoline clients that have one line of business with you, one product, one service, and you believe that they can have multiple, they should have multiple, they're paying for multiple and they're not actually paying you for multiple, maybe paying more than they have to. That's one campaign, one strategy. Another one, that clients that are high value clients that have been with you for a while, they might have 3 or 4 policies with you. You need to still engage with them proactively on renewal. It might be a different strategy, but you still need to connect with them. Commercial only clients or personal only clients that might have commercial needs and vice versa, it's a different campaign, a different strategy. But once you've determined really how you're going to pull, what you're going to focus on, how you're going to categorize, then it's what's your communication strategy? What's the timeline? What are you going to be doing to actually connect with these clients? Some of the things that has really worked well for us at G&N has been a voicemail drop, letting them know what's coming up, potentially a video that goes out, letting them know what to expect on renewal. An email that might come out after that has a calendar link to schedule phone calls, and a text message to let them know that email just went out. 4 different communication strategies that might vary depending on the campaign you're running and the actual client that you're engaging with, but each should be focused on how you can help them, how you can serve them, how they can benefit from connecting with you. If it's additional lines of business, great. If it's getting deeper in the coverage that they have to make sure they're better protected, awesome. If it's just to engage and have a conversation, and the outcome might be just asking for reviews or referrals of their best friend or businesses like them, fantastic. But this is the time when doubling down and engaging with your existing clients really makes a lot of sense, opposed to potentially just trying to solicit new partners or solicit new opportunities that are cold. Right now, the people that are warm, that know you, that pay you, that want to continue to do business with you are the ones we should really be engaging with. So I don't know if anyone currently has a strategy outside of G&N where, Grant, maybe you guys have a renewal process that you can touch on, but any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I strongly believe that this comes down to um, writing down the entire customer journey, not just from the time they've heard about you to the time that the sale is done, but what is the entire customer journey look like? It's like, it's got to be an infinity loop or a circle, because they're going to come back to have to repurchase an insurance anyways, that policy. So we have written down specifically what the stages are for each part of the journey, whether it's the discovery stage, the buying stage, and then we call this, the last one, the delight stage, when they are actually a customer. And within each of those three stages, we have sub stages as well. And that allows us to input this information into our CRM or automation platform, which allows us to automate certain processes or remind us to do certain processes manually. But either or, we're attacking so much of the stuff that you just talked about, Matt. It's recognizing what are their needs and how can we fill them. Oh, we know that they're monoline here. Well, they probably need this, and that's what's best for them. So we got to put that in front of them, right? Or maybe it's just the fact that, like, oh, they've been a customer for this long. Wow, that's a really big deal. We should probably thank them for that, Or we know that at this stage in the journey, they're probably most satisfied. Let's ask them for a referral in this stage as well, especially in the renewal process, So it's just writing down for us. We just wrote down what those stages are, specifically that renewal stage. I think way too often agents are just kind of a set it and forget it. And I don't want to touch it. I don't want to poke the bear, and there's definitely some arguments that you can make going back and forth. But what you just said really is who we are at our core as business owners. We're finding needs and filling it. If you're not attacking this renewal process and creating a process for renewals, well, how are you really going to meet all the needs of your customers, right? And how are you going to maximize that, which in turn, it creates more profit. So I love that, Matt.
I think one of the biggest misconceptions in our business is that if we engage with our clients more frequently, especially on renewal, that it's going to create lower retention and the likelihood of them shopping or a ton more work. The reality is we are renting the relationship if we do not engage them on an active, consistent basis. And frankly, after doing this for a couple of years of really diving deep, just like you said, on diving in deep, writing out the renewal process, all the stages, the communication plan, the different strategies, what's happened? We've now generated as many, if not more, leads on a week-to-week basis as we get from our outside referral partners, which blew our mind. I mean, we didn't expect that. Retention has gone up, not just in policy count, but premium. And we're getting more reviews and referrals off of our happy existing clients. Now, if we did this soft engagement plan where we just sent out one email, which we did for many years, it really didn't generate much upside. But if you go all in and you identify these are at risk, these people are really happy, they have a lot of business with us, we need to engage them in this way, it increases retention, increases leads, increases activity, reviews, and referrals.
And financially, what's the acquisition cost of a policy for a customer you already own versus the acquisition cost of trying to get a new customer and selling them policies? You just made the acquisition cost for that revenue stream so much smaller, which is huge for your business.
The other thing too there, Grant, when you talk, if you want to get really nuanced in that idea, is if you've built trust with that customer over the course of the year, think about the acquisition cost of that versus a customer that you've never spoke to. And you need to actually go through like almost a resale with them. So yes, you didn't have to pay $40 to get them in the door, or you didn't have to, go buy donuts for the local mortgage broker, but you still have to spend human capital, time, and resources to resell them versus a client that trusts you. You say, here's the best thing I can offer. We're going to keep you right where you are. They take that policy and move on.
Yes. Love that.
I think one takeaway, if that sounds very overwhelming and you feel like you have 3 or 4 weeks, if you're not currently running on a renewal process right now, like Grant said, write down, keep it really easy and simple. Write down, these are the reports I need to pull at this time before the renewal. this is how I'm going to categorize into each of 1 or 2 or 3 campaigns of targeted towards different types of clients. And here are the 1 or 2 communication strategies I'm going to put in place. It could just be email, it could be text, it could be phone call, it could be voicemail drops, video, it could be all of the above, but at least 1 or 2 of them. And then start in May. Just start, and fumble through it and make mistakes like we all have. And you'll get better because you're making more and more mistakes. And yeah, it might create a few more reshops in the short term, but those are clients you'll keep instead of them heading to Geico.
Yeah, I love that. So good.
Cool. I'll keep it going. I think, where we've kind of focused a little bit is, Grant and Matt talked a little bit about, how to financially, make your business strong in the future, as well as how to talk to your clients and making sure that the process is key, which is great, because if new business isn't really flying in the door, it's we go through a recession or whatever you might call it. It's really important to have these kind of processes in place for a cloudy day. Ryan spent a good amount of time talking about the content, especially video you're developing and putting it out there. What I really want to focus on is about when you email and how you kind of email your team as well as your current clientele or people who have left you. I think, social media platforms change. Very rarely do we actually change personal email addresses. It just stays. When Ryan, applied for Mr. Prince at hotmail.com, it's still Mr. Prince. That's just who he is. But regardless, what we really need to focus on is when you do write that email, it falls flat. And this is such a great time to really focus on your email marketing strategy, something Matt and I spent a good amount of time last week focusing on. Because if you've gotten an email from someone you've done business with, whether it's Nike all the way down to anybody down, like a plumber, the latest email is about coronavirus. It is all, we're here for you. It is all about, if you need us, we're here. And that is just what we're hearing over and over and over and over and over. Very rarely is anybody differentiating themselves in the email game. And now is the time, in my opinion, to do it. And I want to talk about how you can do it. So right now there's a lot of fear and panic, and there's going to be more coming. It's not going to get easier right now. It's probably going to get more fear because more people are at home watching the news. And fear disappears with action. People want to do something. They just don't know what to do. And you have an opportunity in an email to really move them towards an outcome that they actually want. They just don't know what to do. So the emails that Matt and I like are when you really try to make your customer the hero. And that's obviously very story brand. You are not the hero. You being open as an insurance agency doesn't make you great. You being available and working remotely is expected right now. That's not important. What really is important is, what is the person going through? Well, let's talk about that for a second. The majority of GNN's clients are homeowners. The majority are in their early 40s or late 30s, and they have kids. What does life look like at that point? That looks like what's happening in my house right now, where I have 2 kids going absolutely bonkers downstairs, and I'm hiding in my daughter's room recording a podcast. So you have to think about what the customer is like. What they don't want to hear is, we're here for you. What they want to hear is, what can they do at this time? Because I actually have time to do stuff, because I'm not 1000% focused on work all the time. So here are 3 things that I would do. Number 1, I would make a singular call to action in this email newsletter. You can't have 7 different products you're offering. You have to have one place that they're going. One place. Number 2, you have to make it specific who this is from. If you say this is from GNN Insurance, from Rogue Risk, from Stewardship, that is just not good enough. Right now it needs to be from Matt, from Grant, from Ryan, from Zack, from any singular name. It doesn't have to be the owner. It just has to be a person. Because people want to do business with a person right now. They don't want to do business with a company. That's what they want to figure out. And it just adds a little bit of level of care if it's from that person. Where this really fails if it's from the sales team or from the customer care team or something like that. Pick a name. And the last thing that we like to do as our style is to make it super duper easy to read. Short sentences, not paragraphs. The goal of sentence 1 is to make it to sentence 2. The goal of sentence 2 is to make it to sentence 3, and so on. and then you have a singular call to action, those emails I respond to. Whether it's from JetBlue or whether it's from G&N Insurance, I respond to those kind of emails because I know they actually wrote it themselves. I don't respond to emails where they tell me what their new hours are. And so that's my tip on email marketing is make it personal, make it singular call to action, and make it easy to read because right now people are reading their emails.
I like that. I really like the fact that you are being simple and short, because a lot of these emails that we're getting from people saying, hey, we're here for you for the coronavirus stuff, which has become a trend in the email inbox, as you mentioned. Mm-hmm. Like it's like biblically long stuff. And I haven't read it really. But if you get punchy and you say, here's the thing, we're solving this for you. Here's one simple call to action. It's beautiful. It's easy to do. It stays above the fold on my phone. I don't have to scroll anywhere, right? And I can see it as soon as I click open. That is helpful to me as somebody who's maybe not just busy, but also my mind isn't 100% there as I'm going through all this stuff. I don't have the mental capacity maybe right now, depending on what's going on with somebody's family or what's going on with somebody's business or just what's happening in our economy. I don't have the mental capacity to read through this long, drawn-out email. But if I could just click open, boom, there it is. Oh, I got my call to action. Maybe I'll take that call to action now. I love that.
You're so right. Yeah, and you hit it on the head. I just feel that, I'll give you a personal example. I got an email from a realtor who will remain nameless that talked at length about how much they were there for me during this time. Part one, my name was spelled wrong. And part two, it was super lengthy. And I actually know this person. So I wrote back and I was like, what do you mean you're here for me? Do you want to watch my kids? Because right now I could use that help. So what is here for me? What does that mean exactly? And that is what I'm talking about not being specific, not being pointy to the point. And so when Matt and I really try to write these email marketings, we don't try to say like, we're here for you and everything like that. We're trying to say, this is what to do. And then I go like, okay, I get that. And I can select in or select out. I think it's simple.
First off, Zack, I'm here for you, meaning if you want to buy a house, I am perfectly open for business and can support you to get to the closing table.
I will gladly take your money during this time. Yeah.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, just to add something a little bit more specific on email Zack sent out last week. We're not, he's not saying send out an email. It's like, hey, this is a time when you're stressed and nervous. Your heart rate's going up. Your blood pressure's rising. You probably should buy life insurance. And I know who sells that. It's me. I want your business. That will just fall flat on its face. It's gotta be helping the client, whether we're the one benefiting or not. And he did a great job with the one that went out last week that focused on, hey, there's not a lot of things you could do right now. One thing you could do is take advantage of the lower rates. And if you haven't refinanced, you're still in the 4s, we should take advantage of it. Reach out and we can make an introduction. I think, Zack, we've made 20 or so introductions for refinance opportunities. Now, the benefit, obviously, from outside is like, hey, we're supporting our referral partners in times of lower purchases potentially, and we're giving out referrals. So that's great, but that's the secondary consequence. The real benefit is our clients now look to us as people that are creating value outside of insurance, and that will last. So the next time we email them 6 months from now asking for something, saying, hey, we need your help, or hey, this is something we're offering, they're gonna be wide-eyed and open, saying last time they reached out, or last time I read an email from Zack, he helped me, and I'm open to whatever they have to say, opposed to this is just another we're here for you email.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now you're not just an insurance agent, you're a true advisor. Mm-hmm. Who's able to advise them on many things. To Ryan's point earlier, and diversification. You're diversifying in the way that you help people, right? You don't have to necessarily have open businesses that can actually do the thing. You don't have to close the mortgages, but if you're talking to them about it and giving some advice and some help, now you've diversified just in the way that people know about you or think about you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just think far too often we get in the follow along game, and it's at this point, if someone has COVID-19 in their subject line, I just delete it. I'm just like, I understand. I get it. You're doing everything you can, whatever. I think it's now it's lost, and it's actually creating negative brand value. here we are 5 days in, you're telling me just now you're sending out a COVID email, like you've lost value. Like now you're a slow mover.
Good point.
My point, I think, to that is, and this is just because I completely agree with everything that Zack said from a content perspective, is just at all times, do you. Like, I feel like we lose that. Like, who are you? You know what I mean? And I don't mean that in a negative way. Like, think about what your thing is. It doesn't have to be super polished. It doesn't have to be anything. It just needs to be the exact version of you that you are, and then just be that thing. Like, if you're not interested in COVID, like if you know what I mean? Like, just don't send out that email. I'd rather you didn't send the email than to write something that's just a waste, because now you're going, now they're deleting an email before they read it. Think about the brand value in someone's name or in someone's brain, right? If you send an email and they delete it without reading it, now the next time you send an email, even if it's filled with value, they're going, usually their stuff is garbage, delete. Think about that. That's the way it works. That's when open rates go down, is because one time you sent out a BS follow along COVID email 5 days after everybody else that they never wanted to read, and they deleted it before they read it. And now they're more apt to delete everything else you send. And you just lost brain space. And you'll complain about delivery rates, or you'll complain about whatever, but ultimately it's because you tried to be something that you weren't, or did something that you thought you should have to do. And, I think that's the worst thing that you can do.
Totally agree.
Ryan, that point was magical.
I've been staring at that picture the whole time.
No, I think that's great. I think these are four really excellent tips. I think we all gave a lot of value today. I'm pumped for people to listen to this, and we're gonna hopefully get these clips out quick. That we can help people. But in the event, like we've been talking about, that this does go on for a little while, you can do any of these strategies to perpetuity. Like, you can work on your renewal process and make it better always. You can constantly plan for a sunny day and a cloudy day. You can plan for them both, but you better be planned for if you can't make revenue for a couple months. And like Ryan and I have been talking about, you can hone up your content, whether it be video or email, and preferably do both. And these 4 strategies are really going to help people. Rock on. I love it.
Yeah, this is great.
Awesome chat, guys. Good to see you. As always, stay safe.
Ryan, Grant, the sun looks so good on your face. I'm jealous.
Yeah, Arizona.
Can we just talk about stay safe? I'm really, this terminology that everyone's signing off with now. I had someone buy a dresser from us the other day, like off of Facebook Marketplace, and she finished the transaction by saying "stay safe," and I said "you too," but then I was like, "What are we in? Is this a battle zone? Like, what are we?"
Hanley.
What are we?
You haven't heard that we are in a wartime effort right now, and you have 2 sons that are at the age that you need to stay safe. Like, their door is closed for a reason.
Oh man, that's funny.
And my door is closed so that I don't strangle one of them. That's why my door is closed.
I gotta fly. The kids are coming in. Hey, stay safe, everybody. Be good.
Yeah, there you go.